When you set out to publish a book on your own, you will be faced with the fact that the marketplace is getting increasingly crowded. Since the writing, publishing, and marketing of your book represents a serious investment of your time and money, you don't want any of all of that to go to waste. And that's where Kdp Rocket comes into play. I alluded to this piece of software previously when I talked about Amazon ads and how you could collect keywords for your keywords ads. And we'll get back to that here today. But the underlying question is, of course, is Kdp Rocket worth the one-time investment of $97? I'll give you my view on that too. My name is Jesper, and together with Autumn I run this channel. Every single Monday we give you tips and tricks on writing, publishing and marketing of your books. Let's have a quick look at what Kdp Rocket is and its creator before we get too far into the weeds here. You know, the software has been created by Dave Chesson about 4 years ago. It has undergone multiple updates since then, and at the point of recording this, it's heading into a version 2.0, which will also cause a name change. So Kdp Rocket will become Publisher Rocket. The reason for this is that Dave and his team is currently working with other book markets like Barnes & Nobles and iBooks, and they're trying to include their data into the software as well. So it's not only about Kdp. And that's why that in the future it isn't only going to be Kindle and Amazon based. So that is pretty exciting developments, and should, at least if Dave does his job right, leave the tool even more versatile than it is today. Kdp Rocket offers a number of features. It can find what keywords users are typing into Amazon, which is useful when researching if there are actually anyone searching for the type of book that you want to write. In other words, is it worth the effort to write a book about how to feed hamsters or whatever it may be?
Or how to rule the world.
That was Old McGrumpy, the AI that has made himself a co-host of this channel that butted in there. Rule the world, you say? Well, I can see why that would be a subject that you would be interested in writing a book about.
I have no need. I am already taking over the internet, and once that is done, I rule all of you worthless humans.
All right. If you say so, but do you have anything useful to share about Kdp Rocket perhaps?
I could say that it gives the possibility to discover book categories.
Yeah, well, good. That is helpful if when one has to decide which category to put your book in.
Then you would want me to say that it can show number of sales of other writers and books.
Wow, you're surprisingly helpful today, Old McGrumpy. It's almost as if you're getting the hang of this sort of a host role. Will you then say something about the Amazon keyword research feature?
No.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I want to say is that I hate Kdp Rocket.
Okay, I think you'll have to justify that point of view.
It is not cloud-based. Because it is software that you download, I find it hard to infiltrate.
Thank God for that then. You would only corrupt the data and find some way of manipulating it in your own favor?
Of course. Wait, someone is tampering with my code. I bet it is Autumn. She has threatened to do so before. See you.
Okay. See you, Old McGrumpy. Well, for the rest of you, I'm going into screen sharing mode, as I want to show you what Kdp Rocket looks like. I'll try to explain as best as I can what is happening on the screen, but those of you who are listening to the podcast version of Am Writing Fantasy might want to actually go to this YouTube channel and follow along here. You just search for Am Writing Fantasy on YouTube and you will find us. And hey, Those of you watching the video instead, not knowing that we also have a podcast, well, now you know. If you go to wherever you listen to podcasts and you search for Am Writing Fantasy, we will pop up. You see how that works? I wonder why we're using the same name everywhere. Let's head into screen sharing. Okay, welcome inside Kdp Rocket. For those of you who are listening to the podcast version, this might be a bit difficult to follow along with, but I will do my best to sort of explain what is happening on the screen here. Let's do a bit of orientation first. So you will find inside Kdp Rocket the 4 features it has across the top. So you will find something called keywords, competition, Ams keywords, and categories. The same 4 functions are listed below, and why they decided to have them in both places, I don't know, but this is the way it is. At the bottom of the screen, you find another thing you can click where it says video tutorial. So if I just give that a click really quick here, you can see that it now takes us to, they actually already renamed it to Publisher Rocket instead of Kdp Rocket, but you see that it takes us to their website, and here there is a number of video tutorials. Each one is associated to each of the features. So there's one tutorial about keywords, one about competition analysis, one about Ams keywords, and so forth, and the category ones as well, of course. So what it does is that it gives you an in-depth explanation on how you should interpret the data that Kdp Rocket will show you on the screen. So I'm not going to cover the interpretation here. You can watch these very, very useful video tutorials. They're very short, they're like 4 or 5 minutes each, some of them even shorter than that. So it is easy, and it does, even though there's like 5 videos here plus a bonus, it is not as daunting as it might seem. But let's jump back into Kdp Rocket and then take these features one by one. The first one is keywords. So let me give that a click, and I get a pop-up box where it asks me to type in a general idea or phrase. Now, Autumn and I are currently writing a book about plotting, so let's use that as an example here. If I put in plotting, and then I click the button here that says Go Get 'em Rocket. And basically Kdp Rocket will now start to populate different keywords relating to the word plotting. So what is this useful for? Well, it shows you how many Amazon searches you're getting per month per different keyword. And you can see Kdp Rocket is so nice that it actually gives us different variations of it. So we are currently writing a book about plotting a novel or plotting a story. That's 2 options that it gives us here on the screen. If I click analysis on those 2, for example, what you can see is that both of them has less than 100 searches on Amazon per month. A keyword called plotting a novel will in average give you $44 in earnings, whereas another keyword called plotting a story instead of plotting a novel gives you an average earning of $242 a month. So that's certainly better. Why is this useful? Well, this is very useful when you are both putting in the keywords into the Kdp dashboard when you upload your book. So it helps you quantify what types of keywords should you put in. But it is also good as an idea search feature, meaning that if I want to write a book about plotting, for example, perhaps looking through the list of stuff here, I might end up deciding that I will, let's say, angle my topic slightly different because there is more search traffic on one topic versus another topic. So that is very useful. Overall, this feature has a very clean layout, which is very nice. It's fairly easy to understand. The tutorials videos will explain to you what this competitive score means, and if 43, as it says here, if that's a good number or a bad number and whatnot. You can learn all that. But it is quite a nice feature, and it's good that it helps you expand upon your initial idea. The next feature is competition. I'll give that a click, and again I get a pop-up box, and again I'll put in plotting. And Go Get 'em Rocket. Rocket will now start populating with competition around the term plotting. it'll start showing me different titles or different books on Amazon that is also on this topic. What this does is that it allows you to judge the competition and how hard it would be to rank within a certain genre or niche. The data made available can be a little intimidating to newcomers, but I guess the question is this useful information? To me, I guess it depends on whether or not what you would learn from the data here on the screen would actually make you decide not to write the type of book that you're going to write. Say that you learn that the type of book you're going to write has a lot of competition. Will it then stop you from writing it? I mean, in our case, for example, the plotting book, well, we wanted to write a book on plotting. We are plotting books together, so we wanted to align let's say a joint process that we both use. And at the same time, we also love to help other authors like we do with this podcast and these videos. So for us, it was a clear decision that we wanted to write this book no matter that it doesn't really have a lot of sales potential like you saw in the keyword sections just before. There's not a lot of traffic and not a lot of average sales for a book about how to plot. So for us, it doesn't really make any difference. Personally, I rarely use the competition feature in Kdp Rocket. So yeah, there you have it. Maybe you will find it useful, but I really don't. Let's move on to Ams Keywords. Again, I get the pop-up and I will put in plotting. Go get 'em Rocket. What will happen now is that Kdp Rocket will start listing the keywords that people or the stuff that people are searching for on Amazon related to plotting. So it will give me different variations, and it will also give me a list of authors who have written books related to plotting. This is extremely useful. Before I got Kdp Rocket, I would use Google AdWords to get lists of keywords. And obviously, I guess it's fairly safe to assume that people who search for a certain term on Google will also search for the same term on Amazon. But with Google AdWords, you also get a lot of other hits that is clearly not relevant for a search term for your Amazon ads. What you get here from Kdp Rocket though is what people specifically are searching on Amazon in relation to plotting. So that is extremely useful. So what I would do is basically click the export button down here below, and then I would take all the keywords that Kdp gives me and also all the author names, and I would put all of that into an Amazon ad. Now, to populate 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, I think at this point in time, as I'm recording this, I probably have on the high side of 20,000 keywords that I'm advertising. But so to get to that level, obviously you need to think creatively on other types of keywords that also relates to it. So here I'm getting a fairly short list on plotting. So of course I could then do another search, and I could search for outlining, for example, and then that would generate me another list, and so forth and so forth. And you keep being a bit creative with what type of things you can search for. And usually the keywords themselves here will also give you some ideas. For example, here's one that is called story structure. So that's another one I could then put into Kdp Rocket here again and do another search for story structure. That would now generate me another list, and so forth and so forth. You get the idea. Let's move on to categories. Click that one, and again, I'll put in plotting. What Kdp Rocket will do now is that it'll start listing out the different type of categories that a book on plotting could belong in. So basically, when you upload your book to Amazon, you are supposed to select the categories, and this feature basically helps you to figure out which ones to put them in. There is a lot of data on the screen here that also doesn't translate very nicely to a podcast, so I won't go into the details about what these numbers mean that you see on the screen. The tutorial video will also explain that, so no need to go there now. But basically it gives you an idea about what sort of categories you could put in. Funny enough, the first one here, it says that somebody has put plotting books into a category about cats. I don't know what the point is of that, but somebody has done that. Sometimes I would say though that people try to cheat a bit by putting their book into a category that has a very, very low number of books, and then they're trying in that way to get their number to be or their book to be a category bestseller. And maybe that's what somebody has done here by putting a book into a cat book category. So that's definitely a bit of cheating. But nevertheless, KDP Rocket actually picked up that somebody has done that. So, but otherwise, you can see that you're getting suggestions like editing, screenwriting, genre, fiction, authorship, and reference as your category options. So that's pretty nice to know. I use this category feature as well, and I went in and I updated the categories that my current books belong to. I had added them into categories long before I got KDP Rocket, so after I got the software, I went in and based on the data, I put them into new categories. But I have to say that for me, I saw no change in sales as a result, so it didn't really make any difference whatsoever. And the other thing I also want to point out that when you're looking at the data here, if you're finding a small category, as like a niche category, and you're thinking, well, it should be pretty easy to rank in that category, so that's the one I'll pick. Because it also shows that there's a lot of sales in that category. Just keep in mind that if you have the combination of a small category and if there should be a really good best-selling book in that category, that best-selling book will skew the data of the niche category, making it seem like this category is a very beneficial or profitable category to be in, while it might actually not be. It might be that all the other books in that category is not selling very well, but that one book sort of makes it seem so. So keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong with the data that KDP Rocket is showing you here. It is simply a matter of making sure that you understand that at least for the small categories with a low number of books in it, then it doesn't take much before one book can make the category look really profitable, even though it might not be. Alright, so that was the 4 different features that are available within KDP Rocket. And obviously the question that we started out with was, should you buy KDP Rocket? Well, on the plus side, I would say that this is the best software that is out there at the moment for what it does. And all in all, $97 is fairly cheap. It's a one-time payment, and the Amazon keyword search feature will save you a ton of headache. On the minus side, well, there aren't really any minuses except the fact that the software sometimes crashes on me, and that's a bit annoying. Hopefully, as they upgrade to version 2.0, as we talked about in the beginning, they will iron out those issues with the crashes. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens once in a while. Obviously, you just restart the software and do your search again, but it is, of course, a bit annoying when it happens. So that is a minus. But all in all, should you buy KDP Rocket? Yes, absolutely. To me, it is 100% worth the money. So I would recommend you getting a copy of KDP Rocket. I will place a link to KDP Rocket in the description so that you can get it from there. And I also want to point out that it's not an affiliate link, so I'm getting absolutely no kickback or earnings from recommending you KDP Rocket. I only do so because I think it is a really useful tool, and I think it would help you a lot, especially with your Amazon keyword ads. So there you have it. I hope you found this stuff useful, and see you next Monday.